My name is Brian Evenson. I'm a faculty member at Cal Arts in Los Angeles, and I'm the Mary Ellen von der Heyden Fellow in Letters. So I have about a dozen and a half books of fiction, a couple of books of nonfiction as well, very much focused though on fiction. I am more of a short story writer than a novelist, but I have come here to work on a novel. The novel that I'm working on is called Handbook for a Future Revolution. It's tied to a previous novel I did called The Open Curtain, which is a novel set in Utah about a schizophrenic kid who starts to experience very strange things. This book is set partly in Utah, partly in Europe. There's a father in Europe who is worried about his son in Utah, who seems to be very troubled and is not getting the help he needs. I got interested in this partly because of my grandparents. First time I visited Berlin, it was to see my grandparents who were working as genealogical missionaries for the Mormon Church. My grandfather was asked to do this when he was older, partly because when he was young, he had been a Mormon missionary in Germany in the 1930s. So he experienced the rise of fascism and the Third Reich, and came back from that with a huge love of German music and literature and culture, and a healthy skepticism of fascism. But that growing up around that and having a sense of just how one could kind of both be interested in the culture and also alienated by certain aspects of the culture at the same time, I think was something that made me interested in thinking about, how does someone kind of straddle cultures. I grew up in Utah. I'm an excommunicated Mormon, very happily excommunicated. But growing up, there was a saying that people used to say, which was be in the world, but not of the world, which for me felt always like a kind of invitation to not fully involve oneself. But that also puts you in a position where you're both inside of a culture and outside of the culture at the same time. And that, for me, that liminal space is a really interesting space to explore in fiction as a way of just understanding the culture and not being kind of taken in too much by the culture, if that makes any sense.